Good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of NWCR's Removing Liberal Blindfold for this, the third day of June in the year of our Lord 2021. From Newsmax comes this one. Yesterday was Election Day here in New Mexico for the replacement of Deb Haaland after she went to the Department of Interior, and it was between Mark Moores, a Republican, and Melanie Stansbury, a socialist or Democrat. A lot was out about Melanie and how she was for the Breathe Act and for things that socialists want for our nation. And today, the headline on Albuquerque Journal was that Stansbury won in a landslide. I didn't vote for the commie, but seems most did. Even after things that were put out about what she stood for, seems New Mexicans just won't learn. The article from Newsmax headlined, Senator Mark Moores to Newsmax, the Breathe Act is anti-police. New Mexico State Senator Mark Moores condemned the Breathe Act on Newsmax TV Tuesday and accused his opponent in a special election for the U.S. House of Representatives of being an unabashed supporter of the measure. Her ads even said she was. He derided the act as an egregious, radical proposal to fundamentally change law enforcement. Moore's comments on the Chris Salcedo show came as he faces off against State Representative Melanie Stansbury in an election to replace Deb Haaland, who left her seat to become Secretary of the Interior. Quote, "It really tells you what the socialist agenda is moving forward," he said. Universal payments for everyone in the country, universal health care. But really, where the egregious, radical proposals have to deal with law enforcement reform, calls for the elimination of the DEA, elimination of ICE, elimination of Border Patrol, getting rid of penalty for illegals entering the country, and calls for closing all federal prisons within 10 years, unquote. Part of the Breathe Act calls for, on their website, is to divest federal resources from incarceration and policing, or as it's commonly known, defund the police. More vaguely, it states it will, quote, enhance the self-determination of all black communities, unquote. But upon closer inspection, a document from the organization reveals that, quote, self-determination of black communities, unquote, to mean dissolving police departments that have shown a pattern of misconduct, eliminating state statutes that protect officers from misconduct allegations and disciplinary proceedings, and abolishing state law enforcement officer bills of rights, unquote. Moores continued to question if his opponent and the radical agenda she supports are even an accurate representative for the district she is running in. Our opponent is just such a radical that doesn't fit into what this district really is. It has been a Democrat district for about the last decade, but it certainly has not been a socialist district. Although not a bellwether for all who will win in 2022 midterms, the Democrat-leaning district will indicate a change in the public's party alignments. Moores, whose campaign was focused on the stopping crime and supporting law enforcement issue, will gauge that if that message is challenging the state's Democratic leaning. Because U.S. House Representative Speaker Nancy Pelosi is holding on to a very narrow margin out there in D.C., she is spending millions on this race, Moores said. She is spending millions trying to keep control of this race. She has actually had the New York Times say this was her priority race for this year. So it really shows a lot of how much Nancy and the progressives are trying to keep power in D.C. And now to remove the liberal blindfold. It seems that New Mexicans just do not care what crap they give to themselves as they keep electing Democrats who want to destroy this nation and this state with their horrible and socialist policies, and the people of New Mexico just keep voting for this ilk to give us more destruction. I, for one, do not understand this. From the opinion post before the election, it said, liberal news outlets and pundits have touted the race in the Democrat-leaning district as the big first test for Democrats, with cash coming in to the state from the deepest crevices in Washington, D.C., in the swamp for the Democrats' nominee, State Representative Melanie Stansbury. According to Open Secrets, large out-of-state organizations, including the sexist abortion up to birth and infanticide group Emily's List, contributed $11,000 to Stansbury's war chest. Speaker Nancy Pelosi's PAC donated $10,000 to the Democrat, while the fringe leftist group Elect Democratic Women chipped in $15,000. From Proverbs 29:2, it says, when the righteous increase, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, the people groan. Yesterday's election here in New Mexico just shows that even though the people are groaning because of the wicked ruling, they continue to vote in more of the wicked rulers to make us groan even more. Stansbury made racist comments towards displaced Navajo energy workers, telling them just, quote, sell your art or your wool, unquote, to pay the bills. And the people voted for her in a landslide. Stansbury has also been in the D.C. area for the better part of the last 20 years, despite her claims that she is in touch with New Mexicans. Despite the backlash over Stansbury's racism, Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, tyrannical Governor MLG, and Adam Schiff and some state legislators have thrown their support behind the extreme candidate. Then the voters did. Not to worry, my friends, I was not one of them. I voted for the better candidate, but it seems New Mexicans do not care to be fairly treated. They seem to flock to the socialist ideas that gave us the embattled tyrant in Santa Fe. And until we start voting with our heads and not our hearts, New Mexico is going to be in deep trouble. It is like Proverbs says, when the wicked rule, the people groan. They are groaning all right, but apparently not enough to make the change. Yet, anyway. Thank you again for listening to us here at NWCR, where we strive hard to find the truth hidden by the lamestream lying media, and I will always say, we will not be ruled. We are heard through Conservative Nation Media, or CNM, from behind the silver microphone of freedom with that voice of reason in this increasingly unreasonable world, where America always wins. Please subscribe to my Rumble account under the name of NWCR's Removing the Liberal Blindfold, and also my BitChute account with the same name. And now I am on Bridian too, which is the new conservative replacement of YouTube, with the name Removing the Liberal Blindfold. Subscribe because I am being shadow banned on Facebook and YouTube. See you on NWCR Radio tomorrow on Blog Talk Radio at 9 p.m. Eastern, and then with a full weekend of shows coming up, back on Monday for my updates, and God bless you all.